Christmas. What is Christmas? Should we celebrate Christmas? Does our good Lord wants us to celebrate Christmas? Is it wrong to celebrate Christmas? Or is it something that we really should celebrate? Let's find out. Let's find the truth. Because the word says, the truth shall set you free. Let's dig. With Christmas, there are so many words we use nowadays because we are in this season where we celebrate this Christmas. We hear these words, Christmas, Jesus' birth, Bethlehem, and it's about the 25th of December, and it says about snow, Christmas trees, Santa Claus, there's reindeers, there's snowman, and in Australia, in Down Under, it's summertime. So the Santa wears a beach shorts and a singlet and wears sunglasses. And decoration is put on palm trees. And people all over the world celebrate with food, with gifts. And there's drinks and booze. Are these all related to Jesus or the birth of Jesus? Is this what Christmas is? So we said, the truth shall set you free. The truth shall make you free. Now we find that in John 8 verse 31 to 32. And it reads, "If you abide in my word, you are my disciples indeed, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." And that's what the word says. So to know the truth, we need to go back to the word. We have to go back to the word that we read in the Bible and find out what does it say. So before we go any further, let's go back in time to find out exactly how that we came about this Christmas. Is it actually in the Bible? Does it actually say for us to celebrate this Christmas? Let's go back and see where this Christmas started from. Let's go. When we go back in history, we find there are three main festivals that directs us to the day, the Christmas that we call today. And these are the three main festivals we find out. One being the Feast of Nativity, and the next one Saturnalia, or the birth of the new sun, and the third one being the winter solstice, or it's called Yule. These are the three main festivals or feasts that were in the past along Europe and Asia Minor and around Mediterranean Sea. These were the feasts where the Christmas starts from. Alright, the Feast of Nativity. What is Feast of Nativity? See, the first Christians, the very first church that went through the persecution after Jesus left, after Peter preached on the day of Pentecost, when the first church arose, the very first day there was 3,000 gathered, and then 5,000 gathered the next time, and there were a lot of persecution where they were spread out. They just went all over the place taking the good news. Now this church, even though they are in the persecution, they had certain things that they did. It says, if you read Acts, that in those first church they gathered almost every day. It says every day they came together, they broke bread, they prayed together, and they remembered Jesus. They remembered what Jesus did for them. And that was the death and resurrection, and what we have in Him right now. That's what they were celebrating. There was no mention of them celebrating the birth of Jesus, where they are remembering where Jesus was born in Bethlehem. It was not mentioned in the first church. We read through all the books from Acts all the way to the book of Revelation. We don't find they are celebrating the birth of Jesus. So where does these celebrations started out? It says around in 4th century AD, when Julius I was the Pope, and it says some says it's 336 AD, and certain places it says just the 4th century. Whatever in that period, this Pope realized that there is a festival happening on 25th of December. Now that's where the other festival comes in, Saturnalia. Now Saturnalia was another festival that was happening with the pagan worship that was already happening in Rome. It was happening around the kingdom of Rome at that time. So these Christians, they realized, this Pope realized, it's already a holiday, it's already a religious day off that they have, that they can use it instead of when all the other people are going and worshipping in their own temples to these pagan gods and pagan religious things. The truth is they just want to use that day so we can celebrate God instead. The whole purpose was them making that day, 25th of December, comes from that day, from the Saturnalia festival, where it was a Roman festival to a god of Saturn. And in their traditions, it's the time where the winter is going through and it hits the peak of winter, and it turns around where the days start getting longer again. And 25th December they celebrate as the new birth of the sun, where the sun starts becoming greater again, where the sun is reborn in a sense. And that is some of their beliefs as well. A new sun is born, and that's the day of 25th of December, and that was a day of holiday. And when the church, or in this instance Pope the Julius I, when he realized that we can use this day to celebrate Jesus' birth, so they create a new festival for Christians, a new religious something for Christians to celebrate on that day. Now when you look at it, their intentions were not wrong. Their intentions was, when everyone else is trying to go and worship different gods, let's use that day to celebrate our God, to celebrate Jesus. Now they created, there is good and bad in that, where when God does not tell us to do something, we shouldn't do it. We don't have to add things to our Christianity. We don't have to add things to our belief. We don't have to add things to the relationship we have with God. It's done on a cross, and now He's alive in us, and that is the truth. But the intention was not wrong, but it went wrong because their intention was creating that day. So even other religious guys, all the other religious people can actually join in to the Christmas. So joining them, adding them into the day of Christmas, of remembering Jesus' birth. But the fact is, the sad thing is, instead of just getting other people to join in remembering that the Son of God, God Himself became flesh on this day, they are celebrating that to say that God who made heavens and the earth took a flesh, became a man to dwell among us so we can be saved. Let's remember the day that this Jesus came to this earth. So remembering that they wanted to gather all the other religions into this, but what happens is in the process, as the time goes, instead of other people coming into Christianity, Christianity people took other people's religious things, religious rituals, religious symbols, religious everything they did, and that became part of Christmas. And that's how the Feast of Nativity began, and that what has become the Christmas. Saturnalia. Now, it is a Roman feast, a Roman festival that was happening during the time of all the Roman Empire in that time. It says in the second century they actually built a new temple for the god of the sun, and they, from second century onwards, they used that day as a national festival, in a sense that from second century on, people having that day off to celebrate the sun god. And that is what Saturnalia is about. It's happening on 25th of December, where the winter comes to its maximum. The days are getting the nights are getting longer, the time, and it peaks on around 25th of December, around some say it's the 21st of December, some say it's the 1st of January, and something in between the 25th of December. It's the day they celebrated that festival in the Roman times, during the Roman Empire. And that day was a day, a holiday, a religious holiday in Rome. And when the Roman Empire acknowledged Christianity, they accepted Christianity, and the Christianity became their main religion. Their main religion. Instead of just removing all the other religions or other worships or other gods or everything away, they made a mix out of it. They mixed everything up to create something to make everyone happy, to make everyone in their kingdom happy. And that Saturnalia, the feast of Saturnalia of the sun god, and the Pope Julius I creating the feast of Nativity, and they combined that into the Christmas day. And Christians, we celebrate the birth of Jesus, but the truth is Jesus was not born on that particular time, because if you go back and if you have a look at it, Jesus was not born during winter. We understand that when you look at when Jesus was born, the angels came and sang and gave the good news to all the shepherds that were in the field looking after their sheep. During the winter, they don't sleep in the fields at night. They don't lay down in the fields during the night time because it's so cold. So the only reality is, the only truth is, Jesus was not born anytime in that peak winter season. It is not possible. So the main reason they choose that day is just they can overcome, they can replace the Saturnalia holiday that was already established in the Roman Empire. This was a holiday in Rome and at that time. So they just want to use that day that is already a holiday into bringing everyone in and celebrating Jesus. Even though we are only called to celebrate his death and his resurrection, and partaking in his death and resurrection, they create this new festival for Jesus so they can overcome or overwrite this Saturnalia festival. And that's what this Saturnalia festival was. third festival, Yule, or we call it the winter solstice. Now we spoke about the feast of Nativity and also the Saturnalia, and at the same time, in the peak of winter, comes another festival that was in the same area, in that same continent, in Europe, in Mediterranean Sea, around there. It's called Yule, or the winter solstice. Now, for them, at that time, especially in the European countries, they had the seasons broken into 8, and one of the 8 is called the winter solstice. And the peak of the winter, or they call it the longest day of the year, or the it says, I wrote it down here, it says the darkest day of the year, where the sun moves the furthest from the equator, furthest away from the equator for them, for the European countries, for the countries in the top of the world, in the northern hemisphere. For them, it is the peak of their winter, and this period is called Yule. It's from the 21st of December to the 1st of January is their feast, and this is their peak time. That is the peak time of the winter, and they had a lot of celebration because it's a time they don't really go out, they stay home, so they spend time with their families and they celebrate winter. And the best thing is, they thought at this time, when it hits the peak time in this 21st of December, they say the sun actually dies according to their beliefs. These are all pagan religions, these are all other gods and other beliefs they had in their time, and they believe the sun moves so further away that it actually dies, and suddenly a new sun is born, a new sun is created, and that sun will start coming over them, getting the day longer and longer. So they are looking forward to the days, of longer sun time, and that is what they celebrate. And there's something very significant with the time that they celebrate it. It starts from 21st of December all the way to the 1st of January. And if you actually look at it, they celebrate it for 12 days. Now, if you know about Christmas, you have to understand. We talk about the 12 days of Christmas, and you can understand where the 12 days of Christmas comes from. And when Christianity became the main religion in the European countries, when Christianity became the most popular or the most important religion, or was taking over the people and winning people, and they becoming Christians, they already have these festivals. Even though they're from pagan religions, they have these festivals already in their countries. So what they did was, this became joined, because by that time the Roman Empire has already made 25th December as the Christmas, the day they celebrate Jesus' birth. And now they find the Jesus' birth, the Christmas day, is happening within their celebration of Yule. And Christmas and Yule became a combined festival for the European countries. And that's how so many traditions, so many symbols, so many rituals that they use in Yule has become part of Christmas. Because in Europe, some still call it Yule, they still celebrate it, and some are calling it Christmas, but you can't separate them, because now they're part of one big festival, and they call it the Christmas, or the Christmas season, the festival of that time. That's why it's called the 12 days of Christmas, because that's what it is. Now, it has been celebrated in many of the European countries where pagan religion was happening, in Ireland, in Slovakia, in all the Slavic countries of all Russian countries and Germany. All these countries celebrate this day. They have little differences in the way they celebrate, but they have the same thing, because for all of them it is the peak of their winter and they celebrate it at home. And most of the things that we see today in our Christmas time is all coming from them, coming from this festival of Yule, because it's happening in the time of snow, where the European countries are covered in snow. So snow takes a big part of it. And during the festival of Yule in the old days, they celebrate it with the tree, the evergreen tree, that they cut it off. They cut a piece and they bring it to their house. They decorate it, and it says they decorate it with gold and silver. That's what they use, shiny things on the trees to celebrate Yule. And that's become the tradition for us. We call it the Christmas tree, or it was the Yule tree, evergreen tree of Yule. And that is how the Christmas tree came about. And all the other traditional things, if you see, using lights, because they use shining things. At certain points they start putting candles at those days, because they want the tree to be a shining thing. And now we put lights, now we put decorations, shining things, decorating houses. For 12 days they celebrate Yule, and now it has become a part of Christmas. Alright, so I've spoken to you about the three main festivals that was happening happening at this time in that area in Europe and Mediterranean Sea and around the Roman Empire at that time. These were the three festivals: the Feast of Nativity, Saturnalia or Yule, not O, and Yule. These were the three main festivals that were happening at that time. And the Feast of Nativity was brought to overcome other religions, so it can replace that day of sun worship, sun god worship, to overcome that and take over that religious day, to make it to a Christian festival, to a Christian day. Even though Jesus never said it, the first church never said it, even though that is the truth, and they shouldn't have done it because there was no need for doing it, but they do it with the best intentions, as I understand, so they can overcome other beliefs or other pagan worshippers, so they can actually create that day into a Christian thing, so other religions also gradually will become part of the Christianity. But we know, sadly, that's not what happened. Sadly, gradually they start taking things from other religions, other pagan worship, other religious symbolic things into their religion, into our Christian religion. And that has become Christmas. And at the same time with Yule, it's the same thing, because it happened in the same season in Europe. All this has combined into one big Christmas festival. Now, there are good things where people, during that winter time, the families get together, they have a good fellowship. It is not a bad thing, it is not a wrong thing to have a good fellowship, to have a good time with the family. But why are you celebrating Christmas is the question. Are you celebrating it because the whole world is saying this is how we celebrate it, and the Christmas is all about Santa Claus, the Christmas is all about a Christmas tree, and all about the food, all about drinking, all about decorating your houses with lights and all the snow things. Even though I'm living in Australia where it's summer, it's hot, it's sweating, and then we still create houses and decorations that look like snowing, because it's all part of Yule festival. Now, I'm the first to admit, I always celebrated it until about 2 years ago. I had the most lights in my street. I had my whole house planned. I have drawn plans how to put the lights in my house, how well it can be decorated. I had so many lights all over the roof, all over the walls, all over the windows, even on the ground and on the trees in my lawn. And even I had a evergreen tree that I had decorated completely. I had everything worked out. I had my house decorated. I have spent days, I have spent big dollars buying all that stuff. Every year you spend money to buy this stuff. All this with a wrong understanding. If you are a person who want to celebrate, if you want to gather with your family, go do it. Have a fellowship with your family. Gather your whole family around. But make it about Jesus. Make it about Jesus. Have a fellowship. Have even a family communion. Have a meal together. And remember what Jesus did on the cross. You can have a communion. You read the Bible, it says every day they got together and broke bread. They were remembering every day. Now, they're not going to a church where a priest or a reverend or a pastor is giving them communion. In their home, they're remembering what Jesus did. You can do it at home. I'm looking forward to the Christmas day where I can do it. Now, but don't get into this vicious cycle. And that's what I'm trying to get to. This world is created right now. It's a commercial world. It's all about running you through this big loop in the time every year. You go through one season to another season. You're coming from one economical thing to another economical thing. One time it's Christmas. Next, in Australia it's called Australian Day. Next, it is Valentine's Day. Next, it is Easter. And next, it'll be end of financial year. And next, it'll be some sport event. Here it's footy season. And next, it is Halloween, where they celebrate the dead, and back to the Christmas. And then again, it goes to this cycle where they're selling stuff, they're selling things, they are promoting stuff. It's all about making you run around this circle. And without knowing, we are just running that circle like a merry-go-round, like a dog trying to, bite his own tail and just going round and round. We are just going in circles, in circles, in circles, and we let the world do that to us. But Christmas, if you want to celebrate Christmas, make it about Jesus. Make it about remembering Jesus. And lastly, let me say this. We are 2000 years after his birth. It's nearly 2000 years after that he has overcome death. He has overcome death, Satan, and hell. And now he's soon ready to come back. He's soon ready to take us back to his feast, to his wedding feast. And that's what we are looking forward to right now. So don't try to put Jesus back in a manger. Don't try to think that Jesus is a baby, because he's not a baby. If you think about yourself, for your birthday, you don't dress in a nappy, or you don't dress with a milk bottle and some clothes wrapped around you to celebrate your birthday. You are now older, so you celebrate your birthday as you are now. And so is Jesus. Jesus is alive. Jesus is ready. Jesus is sitting in the heavenly places above all the names, above everything that was ever created, every name that was ever named. He's sitting above all that. He's given the name above everything. And the word says that we are seated with Him in heavenly places, in the spiritual realm. That's where we are today. Even though we are living on this world, it says we don't belong to this world. We belong to Christ, and we are already in the spirit realm. We are living with Him. And Jesus very soon is ready to come back. And if you want to know how Jesus looked like, go to Revelations. Go to Revelations 1, read. His friend, his closest friend, Jesus, when he was on this earth, John, who wrote the book of Revelations, he describes Jesus. He fell down with fear and trembling at the feet of Jesus when he saw his face. And again you read in Revelation 19 where he comes back in his second coming, and the appearance of Jesus with his robes drenched with blood, dripping blood, and he's coming with a sword coming out of his mouth. Every word he's speaking is like a sword that's gonna hurt all the unrighteous. And that's how Jesus looks like today. So don't put Jesus back in a manger. Don't try to put him back in the manger. It's for children to celebrate that time. But we have to grow up. That's why Paul so many times says we have to become the fullness of Christ. Depth and height, we have to become his full image. We are like his brothers. In Romans 8 it says we have become his own image, and now we are like his brother, where Jesus is our elder brother. And so many places it says in Hebrews chapter 5 and 6, if you read also, it says we have to grow up. We can't be drinking milk all the time. We need to eat the hard food. So don't go back into this vicious cycle and try to put Jesus back in a manger, because Jesus is coming back soon, and his face will bring fear to the whole world. And that's where Jesus is right now. So today, as you go into Christmas, or in the future when you go to Christmas, remember, Jesus is not in a manger. Jesus is ready, and he's sitting on the throne above everything, and very soon he will be coming back to take us, and also to judge the people. All the people of the earth will be judged one day. And lastly, I speak to you, when you get together with your family, celebrate Jesus, praise him, give time to him, worship him, thank him, remember him, have a good fellowship with your family and friends in remembrance of Jesus. And that's what we should do on this day.